Officials have been looking at this May 11th Eurogroup for literally for months because it looked like the point at which Greece or the creditors may be forced to capitulate. You have a meeting that's happening today in Brussels, and then the following day you have about 750 million euros due to the IMF that a lot of people thought the Greek government did not have, that they couldn't pay. The problem is events have conspired against both sides on this one. The Greeks appear to have that money, so I don't think they're going to miss the Tuesday payment, although a lot of people are now speculating that it might be missed. Most of the people I've talked to said that money is there, and unless there's a political decision not to pay it, it will be paid. And the other thing is that the negotiations over what is supposed to be in an agreement for the bailout money to be released, it's still progressing incredibly slowly. Everyone I talked to said that the atmospherics have improved. So they're actually sitting down and talking about the issues when before it was much more logistics. Where are we going to meet? Who's going to meet? Where ministers are going to engage? Sort of these logistical issues that a lot of people got really annoyed with. So they're engaging on the issues, but they're just incredibly far apart on finding a solution to some of these big issues like pension reform and collective bargaining and some of these issues that are really red lines for the Greek government. So that's where we stand, and many people I talked to said they don't think the make-or-break moment is going to come until late May. So this idea that today was the meeting where everything was going to be done and dusted and someone was going to have to back down, that's not going to happen. So I think what we're looking at is another sort of 2 weeks of sort of hand-wringing and watching very closely the negotiations. Most people I talk to say this, again, end of May, unless they get an agreement at the end of May on what economic reforms Greece has to do, there's just going to run out of time here. Remember, the bailout runs out in June. They need this cash. It's about 7.2 billion euros left in the bailout. They need it desperately to pay the remaining debts up until June, to pay their wages, government pensions. But again, the big wall of money hits in July and August when about 7 billion euros is owed to the ECB. So they're going to need that cash, presumably for some of that as well. There is still talk out there that they need a third bailout. But this third bailout the talks have not begun yet. And I think one of the questions lingering over today's discussions and will for weeks now is the Eurozone has insisted no discussion for a third bailout until we get an agreement on this bailout, which is, again, we're on our third month here of no agreement on this. So does that leave us time, even if there's a deal at the end of May on completing this program, do we have a month to negotiate an entirely new bailout? I think most people agree there's just not enough time. So it starts to question what happens in July and August when you have these enormous payments to the ECB due. Can Greece make those payments? Are there alternative ways to get around, allowing Greece to have a bit more money? Maybe the ECB raises the current cap that's imposed on issuing some short-term debt that Greek banks can buy, which is the only buyer out there now. So we're, again, headed towards basically 6 weeks of a sprint to get to the finish line at the end of June with no clear path in sight. And although today's meeting, this Monday Eurogroup meeting, looked like it could be a point where something major was going to happen, it now looks like it's not going to. The Greeks have wanted to make this meeting a meeting where a statement could come out at the very least to say we're making good progress, we've come to some sort of functioning agreement that we're going to reach final agreement sometime soon. But even on that effort, it seems like the Greek hopes are going to be dashed. They had wanted that so the ECB can move to raise this cap on the short-term debt that they now have imposed on Greek banks. But it doesn't look like even that very low bar is going to be met. Peter Spiegel, Brussels Bureau Chief, Financial Times.